Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 19 of What If Naruto Pushed Himself to His Limit. Recently guys, I've been having some technical problems because recently I only have been posting one What If on each channel. Everything is going to be sorted out soon guys, but bear with me. But tonight I'm only going to be able to post one What If on each channel as well. I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto was the Sasuke King, so stay tuned for that over on Anime King guys. And I do hope that you guys enjoy What If Naruto Pushed Himself to His Limit. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new, I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Begin the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto was taken aback when he heard that it was Yuji's squad, as she was the one that was captured. We then skipped to Orochimaru's lair, as Yuji was pissed, seeing that Kabuto was involved in Hayate's death. As she was strapped down to a table completely naked, she tried to break free of her restraints, but she couldn't, as Orochimaru simply chuckled and left this to Kabuto. Kabuto then stepped forward as screams could be heard all over the base, as he started his experiments on her. At Konoha, Tsunade refused to send Naruto on this mission because, knowing Orochimaru, she thought that whatever he is going to do to the Anbu squad, they're not going to be alive after that. But Naruto completely disobeyed her orders, shocking her, as she was surprised how strongly he cared for this woman. As she told him not to go, but he still turned around and went off, as he told her if any of them come after him, he will fight them to get out of here. Moments later, Naruto was stopped by Hinata, Sakura, Sai and Kiba, as Tsunade sent them as reinforcements, but she was still pissed, as they tracked for the entire day. After finding a location, they head down to the hatch. Looking around the place, they saw many doors, as Naruto tried to sense where she was. Finding the correct door, they went up there as Naruto dispatched the two ninjas inside rather quickly, as Yuji was strapped down as he removed the straps. Some strange things were currently in her stomach and all over her body. It was like eggs, like parasites. As Sakura came over there and tried her best to subside the pain for her, but Yuji had that look in her eyes like she was out cold, but she was still a bit responsive. It was very bad. As they were heading off, they were stopped, as Naruto gave orders, as Sai took on Kabuto. The other three went off, as Naruto turned his attention towards Orochimaru and Sasuke. Sasuke had a big smirk on his face, as he didn't believe that Naruto could test his power right now after all the things he has been going through, all the training. But he was in the shock of his life when they started a battle. As, moving, Orochimaru and Sasuke took on Naruto. As, Sasuke couldn't believe it, even with his power and Orochimaru's power combined, they still couldn't take down Naruto, as Naruto was beating on the both of them, even cutting down Orochimaru a couple of times, but because of his ability, he kept on regenerating right out of his own mouth. But Sasuke couldn't do that, so he was bad for wear, as Naruto started to drop kick him and beat him all around the room. Sasuke was pissed as he couldn't believe how strong Naruto has gotten. With one move from higher Shin, Naruto appeared behind them and slammed the Rasengan into them. Orochimaru was able to shed his skin, but Sasuke was so lucky as he was sent sailing, as he was knocked out as he hit the wall. As Naruto didn't have time for that, Sai returned as Kabuto had vanished a couple of minutes ago. As they raced to Konoha, Naruto summoning Gamabunta, as Gamabunta hopped there. Arriving there, Tsunade and Shizune quickly rushed to the hospital along with Sakura. It took some hours, but she finally came out and told him that Yuji was stable, as Naruto released a sigh of relief. Despite everything, Tsunade still had to discipline him for what he did. He would stay in the village for a month and only do D-rank missions. Because what he did was treason, and if it was any other ninjas, it would be their life. But she cared about Naruto too much, and she would never let something like that happen to him. As she told him that he could go, as Naruto went off and checked on Yujiro. As he failed her once, he didn't even think about her when he returned. She that protected him when he was younger. The first person that protected him out of everyone else. And he would not let her suffer anymore. As she's been taking these missions so she would die. As Hayate, when he died, he just killed a part of her. And Naruto will not let that continue to happen. So yeah guys, that was basically last where we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So let's start this new episode. Man, I can't believe she's giving you such a harsh punishment, Kiba said. As him, Naruto and the others, as they were in one of the Akamichi own restaurant. I mean, all you did was go to save one of her auntos. You think that she would be enough, Kiba, Naruto said in a soft tone. She's only doing what she feels is right. But, said Kiba. But Naruto cut him off with a smile. I was given direct orders not to go, and I disobeyed those orders. I knew that when I returned I would be punished for it, and I accepted that and don't really care about the punishment. So long as I can protect the ones precious to me, then no punishment is high of a price. As Kiba shut his mouth after that, as they listened to the blonde speak, the differences between the old Naruto and this new one. It was by a huge margin. Still, said Ino, as she picked at her salad, it's still too harsh. I mean an entire month of D-rank missions and probation to not leave Konoha for just saving a friend? It doesn't seem so fair, said Ino, shaking her head. On the contrary, it's actually a lot fairer than what most people would get for such an action. The treason that I show is something punishable by several years in Konoha jail, or even worse, death. Naruto said as the others gasped. Once more my punishment will show that no one will get away scot-free from disobeying orders of the Hokage. As a clan head, I'm supposed to set examples for other ninjas. That I did not mean. She really had no other option, Naruto said. This will make others also understand. Just that I come from a powerful clan doesn't mean I can get away with anything I want. Man, politics are so troublesome, said Shikamaru on the side. I really don't envy you, Naruto, having to deal with all this troublesome business. You know, if you become Hokage, it's gonna be a lot worse, right? Naruto simply laughed. Yeah, just wait until you take over for your father as clan head. Who knows, you may end up being my second in command after you become Hokage. As everyone laughed as Shikamaru groaned, if he becomes the second in command, in charge of Konoha forces, he would not have any time to play shogi, or sleep, or watch any of his precious clouds. No, that would be just damn troublesome. Sai, who was invited by Naruto, after Naruto saw the boy reading at the library, just watched them talk. They seem so normal. This is not what he was taught how ninjas are supposed to be. They showed their emotions and acted like normal civilians when they're not on duty. Something that he was taught a ninja should never do. As Sai looked at Naruto, he had watched Naruto in the battlefield numerous times now. Never once did he see Naruto lose his cool when fighting. Not even in the mission recently did he lose his cool. A part of him wondered if he would better understand emotions if you stay with these guys and get to understand his as well. Naruto looked at the time, he then sighed and got up. Well, it looks like it's time to do another D rank. I'll see you guys later. As he waved over his shoulder as he left the restaurant. As he walked through the streets, making his way to the tower. As he waved to a few of the people he passed, smiling to the children that would stop and watch him. As he went up there, he finally arrived as he stopped right in front of Isarabi's decks. Right into your boyfriend again, Naruto said. Isarabi jumped. God, Naruto, don't do that, she said, as she held a hand to her chest, trying to get her heart rate under control. She blushed as she registered what he said. During the Chunin exams, she and Kojo had hit it off well. They weren't doing anything yet, only really hung out a few times, but they still considered himself getting closer. But as soon as to find out that they were sending letters, he did not stop teasing her about it. No, she said, a light blush on her cheeks. I was just looking through some file for Hokage-sama. Really? Then what do you call this, Naruto said, holding up the letter. Isarabi's eyes went wide. Give that back, she said. As she jumped on her decks and jumped after Naruto to grab it, but Naruto moved his hand. As Isarabi jumped on him trying to get it, but Naruto switched himself with a clone. She jumped off his clone as she saw the real Naruto holding her letter. She puffed out her cheeks. "Give me the letter, Naruto-kun," she said. When he shook his head, she gave him the puppy dog eye jutsu, as that was one of Naruto's few weaknesses. "You're no fun," Naruto said. As he gave her the letter, he then perked up. "So you admit, you're writing a letter to your boyfriend?" As her face got intense red, I never said Kojiro was my boyfriend," she said. "Oh, and did I mention Kojiro's name?" Naruto asked. As he made his way in the Hokage's office, leaving a stuttering and red-faced as rabbit. Walking in, Naruto saw Tsunade looking through the window, as he stopped and did not speak, knowing that she would talk when she's ready, because she knew that he's here. After a few seconds she spoke, "Here for another D-rank mission," as she turned and looked at him. As Tsunade was surprised, the little resistance Naruto put up when being given this punishment, he did not resist at all really. As she was impressed, he seemed to understand the political side of what he did and how it would affect other ninjas in Konoha. That was the reason he did not resist, but she knew that if this come up again, he would do it again, regardless of what happened, and that impressed her. "Yes, Hokage-sama," Naruto said. He decided that since he was in trouble, he would not call her Bachan for the moment. As Tsunade went through the D-rank missions, a smile came on her face as she tossed a scroll towards him. "Your mission is to receive toward the cat," who seemed to have gotten an escape from her owner once more. As Naruto sighed to himself, before he nodded and disappeared in a burst of lightning. Time skip. Naruto entered Yuji's room to see Shizune checking over the woman. He has been here enough time to know that either she, Sakura or Hinata would be checking over the woman's condition, depending on what shift they were taking. He had spent every evening with her, even though he knew that she would not wake up for several more days at least. "How is she doing?" Shizune, Naruto asked, as he took a chair and brought to the edge of the bed. She seemed to be doing fine. She is still in her miniature coma, but Tsunade and I believe that she will come out of it in a few days or so. She walked around the bed as she placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "You know, you don't have to come here every day. The moment you wake up, I'll inform you," she said. "Thanks," Naruto said, "but it's not about her waking up that made me stay." Shizune raised her eyebrow in the odd comment, as Naruto just looked at Yujiro. "I just can't bear the thought of leaving her alone again," he said. "When I left for my 4-year training trip, I never even thought of how she was doing, how much she was suffering. Even before that and right after the invasion, I may have not known that Hayate had been killed. But I should have at least checked up on her to make sure that she was alright. I have always said that I would protect my precious people, and that was the most important thing to me. Yet, it was that day when I saw her at the cemetery. It's when I remember. I guess maybe a part of me thought she'd be fine. She's the envoy after all, and they go through extensive emotional training. And then I saw her and she looked dead, like a part of her had been killed." As Shizune heard the pain in her voice, as she knew how much his friends meant to him. During his childhood, he had no friends. That is why he kept them so close when he made them. "You know, none of this is your fault," she said in a low voice. "I know," Naruto said. "I do realize there was nothing I could do. But that doesn't make it easier to watch her suffer," he said. Shizune just nodded as she gave his shoulder one last squeeze before she left the room. As Naruto looked down. Time skip. It has been about a week since Naruto's probation. Something that his fiancées hadn't liked one bit, as it took some explaining. Thankfully, they knew Naruto the most, as they knew that he wouldn't let someone to suffer that he cared about. So they weren't angry at him. But also, even though he could not leave Konoha, that didn't mean that they couldn't be teleported here. As Naruto has used the Harajuku reverse teleportation ability great this past week, summoning Mei, Konan, and Yujito, and Koyoke, spending several hours with them after he finished up his D-rank mission. He then went to visit Yujiro, who hadn't come out of a coma yet, as it was because of her nervous system got infected by the parasites. But Tsunade told him that it will get better. Time skip. She was happy that she was wearing a mask, so none of her comrades could see, as she was beyond shock, looking down at Hayate's body. As, why? Why did he have to die? As she felt like her entire life just died the day that Hayate had been killed. as she watched as his body was taken away, as tears ran down her face. Yuji snapped open her eyes as she woke up with a slight gasp. That had been one of the many nightmares she had had over the past 4 years. She had to shut her eyes immediately as the light caused her eyes to feel discomfort, as she opened them this time really slowly to make her eyes adjust to the light in the room. As she recognized that she was in Konoha Hospital. Yuji? She slowly turned her face and found herself looking at Naruto. As she blinked, "Naruto," she said. As Naruto nodded, "How are you feeling?" Naruto said. "You know, you really had me worried." He trailed off as he noticed the look in her eyes. "What happened?" she asked. "You went on a mission, you were ambushed. One of your envoy members managed to make it here, and the rescue squad was sent out after you." As she remained silent for a few seconds and then spoke, "Why am I still alive?" Naruto frowned a bit. "Why would you ask that?" As he saw the look in her eyes, it was someone who was completely dead. Someone who had given up. "Why am I still here? Why should I should have been dead on that mission," she said. "You're alive because I saved you." As he saw the emotions flicker across her eyes. Shock, surprise, realization that she was not dead, and then pure despair. "Why couldn't you just let me die? Why couldn't you and everyone else just let me die?" she asked. As Naruto's eyes widened in shock, but her volume just increased. "I should have not have survived that mission. I wasn't supposed to survive that mission. That was the whole point of going on these missions. I should have died. At least then I could have..." She couldn't get to finish that sentence as Naruto smacked her across the face. She reached up as she touched her face, looking at him shocked, as she then noticed tears were streaming down his cheeks and he was gritting his teeth. "How could you ever say something like that?" Naruto asked, his voice a mixture of hurt and anger. "How could you possibly say something like that? Do you know how many people here would be hurt if you died? What about us? Do you even care how to hurt everyone to lose you? What about Kurna and Anko? You're one of their best and only friends. Do you know how devastated they would be if you got yourself killed? Hell, they're hurting right now because every day they see you, they saw a woman that is dead inside, a shell of their former best friend." "And what about me?" Naruto said. "You're one of the few people who didn't see me as a monster. Not the demon my father sealed inside me. My childhood was pure crap, but you know what? I would gladly suffer through all that again if it would have meant that I would met you. Do you realize how much it would hurt me if you died?" As she opened her mouth trying to say something, but tears started to leak down her face. Hayate, and as she started to stutter. "Do you really think Hayate will want you to give up your life like this? Do you think this will make him happy? To see the proud, strong Kunoichi he loved, dead to the world and unable to move on. But we were going to get married," she said. She started to cry. "How can I live on knowing that the one that I'm supposed to spend my life with is dead?" As she started to cry even more. She knew it was wrong to cry, to show emotions that unfolds a disgrace. That is why she started to focus on her work, taking suicide missions, that way no one could see her pain. Not that it helped, and she had bottled them up for so long, as they were now broken out like a river. It was because of her tears she was unable to see when to move, sitting down in the bed close to her. As she then felt him pulled her into a tight hug. A part of her didn't want to be in his arms, as she felt like she was betraying the love of Hayate. Yet another part, the part that she has been feeling since he woke up at his house last month, she wanted to give in to the comfort. "Hayate wouldn't want you to be like this," Naruto said, holding her. "I can tell you now, if you died and he met you as you are, he would even recognize you as the woman he loved. He would want you to move on." "How can you be so sure?" her voice cracking with emotions. "Because," Naruto said, "I wouldn't want you to be like this if I was in his place." As she started to relax at those words, her body starting to become unstiff, as her hand came up and grabbed his shirt, as she started to cry right in his shirt, as he held on to her, running one of his hands through her hair to comfort her. For what seemed like hours, but it was only a few minutes, the two of them stayed like that. As he felt her breathing going down slowly. The hand that was gripping his shirt was not so tight anymore, but he was still gripping it. He looked down to see that she was asleep, as he gently lay her in the bed. The door then opened. As Naruto turned, "Hey," he said. "Hey," Naruto said, "Sakura." As she looked at Yujiro, and then back at Naruto. "The hospital will be closing soon. I'm sorry, but you have to leave," she said. "Do you think I could stay, Sakura?" Naruto asked. "I would like to be here again when you wake up again," Naruto said. Sakura blinked. "Wake up again? What? She woke up?" "Yeah, just a few minutes ago," said Naruto. "So, do you think I could stay here?" Sakura frowned a bit, because it was against policy, but with the look Naruto was giving her, she could not say no, and he would do anything bad. "Well, I guess it's alright," she said. "Just don't break anything, okay? And if you even think of doing anything perverted, you don't have to worry about that. I'm not irritating," Naruto said, as he gave her a smile. "Thanks, Sakura." She smiled, as she checked Yujiro vials over. Finding nothing out of ordinary, she decided to leave Naruto. As she left, as Naruto leaned on the board, as Yujiro was still holding on to his shirt a bit, as he decided to stay there until he fell asleep. The next day, for the first time in 4 years, Yujiro felt at peace waking up, as she buried her face into what was next to her. It was so comforting and warm, but then she felt him move. Cracking her eyes open, she saw that her pillow was not a pillow. For a moment she was about to scream or do something, but she looked at the situation, as she pushed herself up to realize she was in a hospital, as she quickly remembered she had woken up yesterday. And yes, she was not alone, as she looked at the person, the one that she was holding on to like a teddy bear. Yes, it was Naruto. As her mind went back to the day, how he confronted and comforted her. Did he not leave last night, she thought to herself, feeling oddly warm that he would have stayed here for her. "Naruto," she said. She gently shook him. "Naruto, wake up." As Naruto mumbled something, she was sure that she heard him say something about ramen. As she almost giggled, remember him saying the same thing when he was younger when he was sleeping. "Come on, Naruto, you have to wake up," she said, shaking him a bit harder. As Naruto turned around, lying on his back, his eyes cracked open. "Yujiro-chan," he said, his voice deeper than usual, to how groggy he was and just waking up. As she felt a bit of a heat rising to her cheeks, to the way his voice sounded right now. "Yes, it is me, and it's time for you to get up." As Naruto blinked a few times, realizing what is going on, as she was right over him looking down on him. As he shot out of the bed like a rocket. "Oh God, I'm so sorry, Yujiro. I didn't remember falling asleep. I didn't mean to." She giggled, cutting him off. "It's okay," she said. "I'm not mad at you. In fact, I want to thank you." "You do," Naruto said, as he scratched the back of his head. "What for?" "For helping me last night. I want to thank you for what you said, and what you did. After Hayate's death, I felt a part of me had died as well, and the only thing I wanted to do was to die as well so I could join him. But I know that Hayate would never want me to die to waste my life away. In fact, the last thing he told me, no matter what is my happiness would be the most important thing to him." As tears came back to her eyes, he went over, as he pulled her back in a hug like last night. This time she didn't resist, as she hugged him back, as she cried into his shirt. "You know, you don't have to thank me for being here for you. I'll always be here for you no matter what." Yujiro smiled, as she kept on holding on to him. "I hope I'm not interrupting something." The two of them quickly jumped apart when they heard the voice, as they saw Shizune looking at them with a grin. "My Naruto, you're working fast, and they think you're already cozy with that blonde Kumoku no Ichi, and the Mizukage as well." Yujiro looked at Naruto with a picture of surprise and a small amount of jealousy. Why she was feeling jealous she didn't know. As Naruto held on his head, "Shizune," he said, "why do you have to say things like that?" "Sorry, I guess I couldn't help myself. It's not often I get to see you so flustered. It's good to see you awake, Yujiro-san." "Thank you, Shizune. How long was I out?" "About a week. If Naruto hadn't got you here when he did, I doubt you would have made it." As she looked at Naruto and smiled, that made him blush slightly. "You know, Naruto never left your side. And I'm sure if Tsunade-sama hadn't forced him to take the grand mission for this month, he wouldn't have left at all." Yujiro raised an eyebrow. What do you mean made him take the ramp missions? As Naruto was about to say it was nothing, but Shizune beat him to it. Oh, Naruto has been given strict orders to not go and rescue you. But he actually told the Hokage to shove it up her ass. And went after you anyway. As Yuji was beyond shocked as she looked at Naruto, who had his head down in embarrassment. So because of that, he was forced on a 1-month probation where he can't leave the village for a month, and he was forced to do the ramp missions. 31 of them. To be honest, it's kind of romantic and sweet that he would go that far for you. Did you really do all those things for me? She asked, a smile, and a slight blush on her face. Well, of course, Naruto said, a smile. You're one of my precious people, remember? I always look after my precious people. As Yuji's smile got a bit wider, Yuji-san, now that you're awake, you're going to be able to leave the hospital. But Tsunade-sama talked to your on-crew commander, and they both agree that you won't be doing any serious on-crew missions for at least several weeks. That means no missions, seeing that on-crew missions are usually dangerous. She looked at Naruto as he gave her a look, knowing that he was agreeing with this as well. Very well, she said. I suppose I could find something else to occupy my time. Great. That means you can leave at any time. Bye, Yuji-san. As Shizune smiled at Naruto, see as she said. As Naruto turned toward Yuji, well, I don't know about you, but all this emotional stuff has left me starving. As she smiled, the typical Naruto. How about I take you out to get some lunch, he said. She smiled and nodded. Okay, as long as you're paying, she said. He simply nodded. Come on, he said. I'll let you choose a restaurant. Time skip. They were currently in front of Yuji's apartment as they went for a lunch at one of Yuji's favorite coffee place. Despite telling him that it was okay, he walked her home anyway, and it was very scary. As she looked at the place, it reminded her of Hayate. I don't think I can go in there, she said in a very soft whisper. I know it's hard, Naruto said, placed a hand on her shoulder, but I think you need to do this for your own peace of mind. Don't worry, I'll be here with you. She nodded as she gulped. She slowly stepped forward, grabbing a key, as she slowly unlocked the front door. As she opened the door and stepped inside, with Naruto right beside her, never drifting too far away from him. This place had brought her so many good memories, and also brought her the bad ones. This was one of the standards apartment in Konoha, with 4 rooms, a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room, as Naruto saw a lot of pictures around. With her and Hayate, he also noticed her and her Onbu squad, and her team when she was a genin. As he smiled, he noticed a picture of himself and her, as he was on her back piggyback style, when he was much smaller. As he could not remember when taking that, but he had the same exact picture. It was currently under his bed. He was scared when he was younger. If the people break in and found it, they would make her life miserable, so he didn't want anyone to see. They made it to the last spot of the bedroom, as her hand hesitated on the knob, before she turned and entered as Naruto followed behind her. The room was like his older apartment, except much cleaner, but larger bedroom, and more pictures. As Naruto noticed something, there was 2 imprints on the bed. You haven't slept here since he died, have you? No, I haven't, she said. I couldn't bear the thought of sleeping here alone anymore. Usually when I come home, I will take the couch. Most of the time I wasn't here, I usually sleep at Anko or Kurenai's place. As Naruto thought about something, if you like, you don't have to live here, he said. As he knew it must be hard to live in a place where you were living with someone you love that much, and dreaming about getting married. Where would I stay, she asked. You can stay with me, Naruto said. As she looked at him surprised. Stay with you? You will let me do that, she asked in shock. Of course I would, Naruto said. You remember what I told you in the hospital. I will always be here for you. That means I'll help you in any way I can. And if living with me would somehow help you, then I don't have a problem with it. Thank you, she said, her own voice cracking with emotions, as she wrapped her arms around him, giving him a tight hug. Time skip. Yuji placed a picture of her and Hayate as genins on the nightstand in her new room. As she looked around her new room, it was the same one that Naruto brought her in when she was drunk that night. It was now her permanent state of residence, for the time being at least. Everything was packed away and Naruto had been a big help, as he was there for her when she found something that reminded her of Hayate. Well, everything did really. Giving the room one last look, she went to the restroom. She has not taken a shower since her last mission. As she went inside the bathroom, As she undressed and looked at herself, she has gotten quite a scar in this mission, but most of them was unseeable. Thin lines running across her body. But she had several more that were much larger. The scars that she got when Kabuto placed those parasites in her. She tore her gaze away from the scars as she stepped in the shower. As she turned in the water as it hit her body, as she started to have a nice bath. Moments later, she made her way out to the bathroom. As she got dressed, going downstairs, she smelled a sweet aroma that hit her nose. As Naruto was already up making breakfast, as she walked in to see him, he already had food piled on his plate, but he hadn't really eaten yet. "Morning, Naruto," she said, a bit timidly, feeling somehow unsure how to act around him now. "Morning, Yujiro-chan," he said, as he gestured for her to sit down, as she came over her and did, as he already had tea on the table for her. "How did you sleep?" he asked as he set himself back down. "I sleep well," she said. "Better than I have in a while anyway." "I'm pleased to hear that," Naruto said. "Dig in," he told her, as she started to put some of the food on her plate. As, just like last time, it was delicious. For the most part, they eat breakfast quietly, making some light conversation about anything, so long as it wasn't ninja related. "Hey Naruto, where's that girl who's staying here?" "Fu, I think her name was." "Oh, her?" As Naruto chuckled a bit, as Yuji had met Fu last night before the girl went out with Shino for dinner. "She's probably with Shino." The both of them wake up rather early and explore Konoha for new insects. As Yuji raised the eyebrow but shrugged it off, she already knew that girl had a 7-tailed beetle inside of her, so her interest in insects were not that really shocking. After they finished, Naruto created a clone as the clone took away the plates. Yujito-chan," he said. "I was wondering, if you're doing anything later today," he asked. "No, not really," she said. "Then, in that case, I was wondering, after my D-Rap missions today, would you like to go get something to eat with me?" he said. She blinked in surprise. "You mean like a date?" While the idea of dating Naruto was not unappealing, she knew that he was already engaged with 4 women. Seeing that they were all in the council meeting when the announcement was made, well, he'd have to be engaged with them. But now she heard from Shizune a few days ago that the Mizukage and blonde hair Kunoichi from Kumo. As Naruto felt a little bit embarrassed, asking his childhood crush to do something that would consider as a date with him. "Well, if you don't want to be," Naruto said. "It doesn't have to," he said to her. "I just thought it would be nice if we could do something together. We haven't got the chance to see each other or really talk a long while." "Since the academy," Naruto said. "I would love to spend some time with you, Naruto," she said, with a small smile, as she figured she could spend some time with him, and there was also a voice in her head telling her to do it. "In that case, I'll be back around 4 or 5, he said. "I'll have someone in the counter to do whatever you want. I already told you about the security seal and you're recognized by the blood seal. Just flare your chalk when you want to get in." As he walked over and gave her a kiss on the forehead, as he then waved off, as she blushed at Naruto's intimate gesture. As she sat there for a few seconds before getting up. As she was walking back to her room, she stopped, looking at the counter. She was shocked. There was more money here than a simple A-rank mission. As she took about half, as she didn't really need that much and didn't want to spend a lot of his money since she was a guest here. As she decided to go to the market district to do some shopping. Time skip. Yujiro brought her to a restaurant, as she told him that she wanted to go to this place, and he had no problem with that. After the both of them arrived and got seated by the waitress, there was some kind of awkward silence between them. "So," Naruto said, "anything interesting happened today?" As Naruto felt weird. It was like he didn't learn about girls or everything while he was with Jiraiya, like he was still that same little kid. As Yujiro noticed that and giggled a bit. "Not much," he said, a little amused, "but I did do some shopping." "I'm surprised," Naruto said. "I thought you always hated shopping." It was one of the things that he remembered about her, when she was his envoy guard. As she had serious issues shopping for things, as she would always have Hayate do it for her, because she would always cause a ruckus whenever she was looking for what she wanted. "I wasn't that bad," she said. "I'm guessing that you almost forgot that one time. You took me grocery shopping and you almost blew up the store." That was completely different. During that incident, she took him to the store to buy some different food so that he wouldn't eat ramen all the time. However, the cashier and everyone that worked there was not helpful. Though the cashier had been bad, trying to kick out Naruto like the others, and also trying to hit on her. She had almost chopped the guy's head off, as he had to make a break for it. Besides, you were also angry as well, she said, as Naruto looked a bit sheepish, as you remember, he had actually smashed into the guy like a rocket when he started to insult Yujiro after she told him no, and he started to insult her. Yeah, well, he was just lucky I was younger, Naruto said. Had it been a few years later, he would have gotten pranked. Oh yes, she said, I remember your pranks quite well. You always gave us Anbus a workout. The prankster king from hell, that was your nickname. Naruto grinned, as a waiter then came up to take their orders. The rest of the store was there reminiscing with each other, as Naruto told her about Kira and Komo, as she told him about her time as a genin, a chunin and jonins, and some of the things that she has done. When they were finished, Naruto paid for the food, as they made their way home. The next day, Yujito stretched herself out in the hot springs, as she was glad that Naruto convinced her to come here. It has been a while, as she leaned her head on the wall behind her, closing her eyes as she went into a light sleep. She was snapped from her sleep when she heard several voices. As she opened her eyes, see the hot spring open. Yujiro? Said Uncle, slightly surprised. I'm surprised to see you here, and without even inviting us. It was Uncle, Hana, and Kurnai. Sorry, I would have invited you guys too, but... She trailed off at the end, unsure that she should tell them that she was here with Naruto, who was over at the guy's side. Don't worry about it, said Kurnai. Uncle know better than to pry into people's personal reason. Don't you, Uncle, said Kurnai. Uncle pouted as they moved towards Yujiro. You know, we haven't seen you in a while, said Kurnai, looking the woman over, as she looked better, far better than before. I'm sorry for warning you guys. I guess I had some stuff that I need to sort it out. 4 years worth of stuff? Uncle asked, in a sarcastic tone, as Yujiro flinched, realized how long it took her to try and sort things out with Hayate's death, saying that death was a constant thing in their line of work. Uncle, you shouldn't be like that, said Kurnai. You know how she as she stopped herself, knowing that it was a sensitive topic to talk about him, or say his name. It's alright, Kurnai. I know I should have been stronger. Hayate's death hit me unnaturally harder, and I never stopped and picked up the pieces until recently. A small smile came on her face as she thought about who was helping her. The other three looked at each other in curiosity, as Anko and Kurnai especially, seeing that they had tried to help her back together all those 4 years, as they were wondering what happened recently to help her. As Anko wondered, she remembered Naruto asking about Yujiro in several of their sparring sessions. Yujiro. Have you spoken to Naruto recently? Asked Anko. Yujiro was surprised. How did she know? He did, didn't he? I can't believe it, Uncle said. We tried for 4 years and this kid did it. 3 months after returning from his training trip. You know guys, it seemed like Yujiro had some scandalizing history with Naruto. And you girls can't deny he's hot. I mean, if I didn't have Iruka-kun, I would have... As Anko then went on to tell them there are sexual acts that he would commit on Naruto if she was not dating Iruka. As all of them were glad that their face was already red from the heat, or else she would have seen their deep blushes. It was extremely bad for Yujiro, despite not fully getting over Hayate's death. It wouldn't be unpleasant to be with Naruto. Several images of her and Naruto flew into her head, causing her blush to be deepened. And then they heard a voice from the male side of the hot springs. Anko-chan, as much as they probably enjoy about hearing how you will rate me, I would actually prefer if you stop. As the three women were surprised, not knowing that he was here, even Anko blushed. As Naruto then spoke again, Yujiro-chan, I'm heading out for now. See you back at home, okay? As she looked down, knowing that the three of them were staring at her. Okay, Naruto-kun, she said. As her eyes widened, realizing what she just did. So, said Anko, you're living with Naruto-kun, huh? She said. As her blush deepened even more, she just recently started calling Naruto-kun because it felt right. You must be quite comfortable with him to be calling him that. And did I heard right? He will see you at home. Are you guys living together? And to think you didn't tell us this. For shame on you, Yujiro. As Kurna and Hana just looked at her as she became more and more embarrassed. Hana, while being friends with her, she was not that close to say anything about their relationship. And if she was honest with herself, if she was given a chance, she would have lived with him as well. Especially after what her mother said about his alpha presence. Kurenai, on the other hand, did not know what to say, as she had been devastated over Hayate's death for over 4 years, and now she was getting with Naruto. As Yuji looked around, oh, look at the time. I have to get going, she said. As Uncle spoke before she could leave. Be sure to use protection. And don't go too rough, okay? As she ran out of there as fast as possible. Time skip. You know, you'll catch a cold if you stay out here all night. Yuji returned and she saw Naruto with 2 cups, with steaming liquid, as it was tea. Thank you, she said, as she took a small sip. As she looked back towards the backyard. You're welcome, Naruto said. As the two of them sat in silence for a while, just looking up at the sky. It's quite beautiful, isn't it, Naruto said. You know, when I was with Erosenin, when you're in the wilderness, they look more clear. You know, that's just like you to give a nickname like that to one of Konoha's most powerful shinobi, Naruto-kun, she said. You know, I've been told that quite often. At least you're not getting angry like some of the people I know, Naruto said. Well, after watching you burst into Okage's office and call him old man, I stopped getting surprised, she said. You were always such a loud little kid. It looks like that hasn't changed at all, she said. Hey, I'm way more mature than I used to be, Naruto said. Are you sure about that? You still seem like a bit of brat to me, Naruto-chan, she said. As Naruto looked at her for a few seconds. You haven't called me that since I was 5. As she smiled at him. Well, you-chan, Naruto said. She looked at him. That nickname. He heard it from Hayate back then. But it was strange because the memory was no longer painful to her. And the way he said it, it was nice. She could be used to getting called like that. After finishing the tea, she scooted herself over to him. My you-chan, Naruto said. Or my manly charms finally getting to you. Manly charm my ass, she said, blushing a bit. You just happen to be the closest heat source, and I'm cold. But you could just go inside if you're cold, Naruto said. It's okay if you think I'm too attractive for my own good. Do that, and I'll easily admit that you're one of the sexiest kunoichi I ever met. This time she could not hide her blush, but remembering something turned into a frown. Don't you already have 2 women that you're extremely close to, she asked. As Naruto looked at her oddly for a moment, oh, yes, he said. I'm currently engaged to Mei Terumi, the Mizukage, and Yujito, the Nibit, Jinjuriki of Kumo. What? Engaged? She said loudly. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know that, Naruto said. I mean, I know you were busy with missions, but shouldn't it be that Konoha ninjas should know clan laws, especially Anvu's? Well, yes, she said. Truth is why she knows the clan laws. She never really thought about them, or how they pertain to Naruto. I never really thought about it. You're actually the head of your own clan. I suppose it would, Naruto said. But during my travels around the elemental nation, I end up falling in love with Mei, Yujito, and 2 other women. And I can't really tell you who the other 2 women are yet. There could be some trouble if the identities are revealed. She nodded. Okay then. Well, I think I'm gonna go to bed. Good night, Naruto, she said. As he watched her leave with a small frown. Did he say something wrong? Time skip. Yuji was going to the dango shop with Uncle and Kurenai. As Uncle was talking about the interrogation department, but she wasn't really thinking about that. She was thinking about her current conflict with Naruto. Hey, Yuji, what's with the lost look on your face, said Uncle. I thought you have gotten rid of that look by now. Yuji blinked a bit. Oh well, it's just that I was thinking about... As she paused, wondering if she should tell them. Well, they were her best friends, and she always go to them for advice. I was thinking about Naruto, she said. Oh, I get it now, said Uncle. So you're having some relationship problems with the kid. You know, if you're having problems, I find the best way to tie them up with my snakes. And then I'll... Uncle, said Kurenai. Just ignore her, Yuji. So what exactly is the problem? I thought the 2 of you were close. We are, she said. It's just all the things that we've been doing recently. I thought I've gotten much closer to him. But what, said Kurenai. As Kurenai didn't want her to fall in that same depression again, over again. So, she wanted to figure out what the problem was and solve it right away. Well, you see, Naruto is the last of his clan, so I never really thought about what that would mean for him. Wait, said Uncle. You're talking about clan laws, right? As Yuji nodded. So you're having problems because of the laws he falls under, right? Wait, what laws does he fall under, said Kurenai. I know that clan laws are different from civilian laws, but they can't be so different, right? As she never really studied clan laws. Well, despite that your genuine team were all clan heirs, none of them fall under the law that Naruto probably has. You see, because he's the last of his clan, he has to go under the CRE Act. As Kunai quickly understand what she was talking about. You mean he has to have multiple wives? But guys, be any steps right here. For the next part of this, already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, turn the bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends here on social media platform. But I'm out for now. Stay tuned for What If Naruto's also King. Peace.